And we're live.
Welcome back, everyone. Episode 99 of Kids Deserve It. We hope you've been enjoying our weekly chats with educators and game changers from around the country. Also, don't forget, you can check us out on iTunes.
And while you're over on iTunes, make sure you leave us a review, because each week we go on and select somebody who's left a review to send them an autographed copy of Kids Deserve It.
Also, don't forget to join our Kids Deserve It chat on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Pacific. This week, we have another amazing guest. But first, we want to introduce ourselves. I am Adam, Director of Innovation in the Bay Area of California.
I'm Todd Nesloni. I'm an elementary school principal in Texas. And we are thrilled this week to have Charles Best on with us. Charles, thanks for being here.
Oh, Todd, Adam, thank you so much for having me.
We also want to remind our viewers that you can participate in social media using the hashtag #KidsDeserveIt, as we always love hearing the things that stick out to you from the interviews.
So, Charles, we have a few questions for you. So for those one or two people out there that don't know who you are, tell us about yourself.
Sure. Well, I was a history years at a public high school in the Bronx, and during my first year of teaching, my colleagues and I were spending a lot of our own money on school supplies. We were talking about books we wanted our students to read and a field trip we wanted to take them on. And so I had the idea for this website, donorschoose.org, where teachers create classroom projects. Donors can choose the projects they want to support. And it grew from there.
Nice.
I love that. So you just mentioned you've started this organization called Donors Choose, and I know educators from all over the country have heard about it. Many of my teachers utilize it. I utilized it when I was in the classroom. Tell me a little bit. I mean, you kind of briefly mentioned about how the idea came about, but I mean, how did that really become what it is today?
Well, I was not a techie, unlike you two, and so when my colleagues and I were talking in the teachers' lunchroom about all these resources that we wanted our students to have, and I figured there must be people out there who would want to help teachers like us if they could see exactly where their money was going. And so I used pencil and paper to draw out a website where teachers could create classroom project requests and donors could choose projects they wanted to support. And I found a programmer who had immigrated from Poland to New York City who was willing to turn my pencil and paper drawings into an actual rudimentary website. I had to bribe my colleagues to create the first projects and give the website a try by asking my mom to make this really delicious dessert that I put in the teacher's lunchroom, and told them that my colleagues, if they ate the dessert, they'd have to try out this new website and ask for whatever it is they most wanted for their students. And so it was a very humble beginning, but my students helped me to get the website off the ground. My office was our classroom for the first couple years, and then we grew.
So I got to know, when did you know that you finally were onto something special? Like, when was that moment that you're like, wow, Donors Choose has made it. This is going to change education?
Well, I sensed that we had growth potential when Oprah Winfrey caught wind of our experiment growing out of my classroom, and she did an amazing segment about our website. And in fact, she made an exception. She came into the green room and she said, because you're a teacher, I'm going to call out your website directly on air. Normally, she would tell people to go to oprah.com and find a link. But she said, because you're a teacher, I'm just going to call out donorschoose.org on air as part of the segment. And so she melted down our website.
I was going to say, she probably did.
We crashed big time. But when we got up again, there were all these people who wanted to see donorschoose.org expand to their cities and states. At the time, we were only open to public schools in New York City. So it was really thanks to Oprah that we were able to open to other parts of the country. And so that was probably a pivotal moment for us.
Wow. Well, I know having visited the headquarters last November, I was actually surprised at, I don't like to use the word simple, but it feels like a classroom. And I mean, this huge organization that you've built, and we haven't even talked about the $29 million funding from Ripple, but just you still have kind of like coming from humble beginnings and just still keeping it simple, which just speaks to putting all the energy and money back into the classrooms for teachers and to support them. So I know from both Todd and I, thank you for starting Donors Choose on that piece of paper and bribing friends, and for your mother for baking, because it has changed the lives of so many people. So Charles, what was school like growing up for you?
Well, let's see. I enjoyed school. I went to a really tough. I went to boarding school for high school, and it was tough. My freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, I had to work my tail off to get B's, and I mean, working my tail off. But then it kind of started to click my senior year. I had an English teacher and a wrestling coach. His name was Mr. Buxton. And I so looked up to him, and I figured if anybody ever looked up to me the way that I looked up to Mr. Buxton, I would have done my share in life. So I knew since I was in high school that I wanted to be a teacher. And yeah, so school made me want to be a teacher.
That's awesome. So, you know, I'm a big reader. I love reading books, not only for myself, but reading books to my kids. I know when Adam was a principal, he would read to his students as well all the time too. Is there a book that you're reading now, whether it's a book that's helping you professionally, or a book that you just read for personal enjoyment, or a book that you'd recommend?
Well, let's see. Teach Like a Champion for, as a teacher professional development book. The book actually that made me start Donors Choose was Little House on the Prairie, because students read that book. And, you know, those folks out there who only saw the TV show might think I was dumbing things down. But if you've read the book, you know that Little House on the Prairie is a gripping, unsentimental account of pioneer life. Mm-hmm. And the school system wasn't about to underwrite a Little House on the Prairie for each of my students. I would make photocopies of the book. And it was when I was making photocopies of the book before school started that I was like, you know, I got all these colleagues and they've got all these resources, and gotta create a website for this.
Nice. So Charles, maybe other than Donors Choose, or you can say this if you want, what is something that you've accomplished that you're really proud of?
I am, I've built a garden in our backyard, and I say built a garden rather than planted a garden, because it's this garden is on a not large backyard on a northern slope, which if you're into gardening, you know, means you just got shade there because the sun cheats toward the south. So I've built these raised beds, and the angle of the hill by terracing it with these raised beds. Anyway, I don't want to geek out too much on gardening, but I've built this garden that I'm really proud of.
I love it. I love that. So if you had one wish for education today, what would that wish be?
One wish would be what I think of as tests worth teaching to. I feel like there's this bitter debate. On one side, you've got people saying tests by definition are soul crushing and dry and suck the life out of the subject material, and so we just cannot have standardized tests, period. And then on the other side, you've got folks who say, you know, maybe tests are a little dry and don't do justice to everything a student ought to learn, but we need some measure by which to know how a school's doing, or a student's doing, or a teacher's doing. And lost in that debate, what I think of as kind of a middle ground is, what if we all were to focus on critical thinking, maybe even an assessment that progress in becoming a creative person, and what if there was such a thing as a test that everybody agreed was actually worth teaching to? So even if people were, you know, solely focused on test prep, you'd say, well, that's a great thing, because what that test actually assesses is so worthwhile. Please do teach to the test.
Got it. So Charles, who is someone that inspires or challenges you to be better?
My wife, for sure. Whenever I need to know if I fumbled something, or, you know, what I could do better, if I'm speaking about Donors Choose or in any kind of high stakes performance setting, I have to ask her because she's the person who will tell me, all the ways that I could improve. And if she tells me I did a good job, I know it's true.
I love that. I love that. So, Charles, we all have those days where we don't want to get out of bed or it's just a rough moment. What do you kind of do to kick your butt into gear to still show up every day?
Well, I'm lucky. I'm just about always. I really would struggle to think of a day when I wasn't like hopping to come into Donors Choose. But certainly I could think of a lot of mornings where I'm feeling groggy, just physically. And Adam, I think you're like a champion marathon runner, so I should not be talking about physical activity in front of you. But I do swim and do yoga and work out, and that like gets that chemical flowing that just makes you feel great throughout the day.
Very nice. All right, Charles, every week we like our guests to leave a challenge for our viewers. What is your challenge for the week?
Well, this is not an original challenge because it's kind of in the zeitgeist right now. The happiness that you derive from just saying thank you to someone, expressing gratitude to someone. But maybe the challenge would be to do so in the form of a handwritten note. DonorsChoose.org is premised on the magic, not so much the magic, but the importance and the value and the meaning of a handwritten thank you letter. Thousands of them pass through our office every day, written by students to the donors who funded their projects. And this is as much a challenge to myself. If we ask tens of thousands of students every week to write thank you letters, we grown-ups, or at least I myself, better be decent at writing thank you letters as well. So I think the challenge would be to write a handwritten thank you note to someone whom you're grateful to.
Easy and makes such a big impact.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Charles, thank you so much for giving us some of your time. I know you're busy, and so we were thrilled to get to have you on for our episode 99. So from the bottom of my and Adam's heart, y'all are a company that we love and we love supporting, and you have made a difference in so many teachers just at my area and in my own classroom. So thank you for all that you do with Donors Choose.
Todd and Adam, thank you so much. I was honored to be on your podcast because both of you have been such champions of our organization, of our charity. So super grateful. Thank you.
We want to thank everyone for watching and listening as well. Remember to tweet us using the hashtag #KidsDeserveIt. And we also encourage you to go on iTunes and leave a review as we select a winner each week to win an autographed book set. And join us every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Pacific for our Twitter chats. Have a great night, everyone.